Seewing Yee from the Yee Real Estate Network, and welcome to another edition of the U.S. Government Veteran Administration Foreclosure System. All right, so this is I handpick once again the best via foreclosures in the country, and furthermore, I pick the best markets where you can achieve positive cash flow, long-term appreciation, long-term buy and hold, and create wealth using this very unique, under the radar, top secret military real estate purchase system in which any investor, regardless of background, can qualify to buy this via foreclosure with 5% down, a mere 5% down, and achieve positive cash flow in an excellent rental market. And in this particular case, this is Killeen, Texas. Killeen, Texas is in the Central Texas, which is, in fact, let's go over the location of this up and coming region. So this property located in Killeen, Texas, right outside Fort Hood, U.S. Army Fort Hood, with what U.S. Army Fort Hood is the largest in terms of land mass in terms of total acreage. It's the largest U.S. military installation in the country and, for that matter, in the world. So let me look at from a very high Google map level. Where is Killeen, Texas? Again, U.S. Army Fort Hood is right over here, which is 5 miles away. Huge. I mean, all this land mass over here belong to the U.S. government. This belong to this military base, which is they're not going anywhere. Okay, that's for sure. Okay. All right, and then Killeen is located strategically off the like 10 miles, 15 miles from the freeway, Highway 35, which extends from South Texas, from San Antonio all the way, right? All the way to Austin, right? This, oh, what did I do? This stretch of the area, Highway 35 goes a long way. I mean, it just go from San Antonio to the south, right? And up north into Austin, here Austin, then Round Rock, then Georgetown, Highway 35. The path of growth is that's where it's going. Then all the way an hour north of Austin is Belton and Temple, which many of you know is we are promoting properties through our Texas affiliate partner Ken Renner. So Temple and Belton is the homes that we are promoting, and to the side, 10 miles to the west, is Killeen, Texas, Fort Hood. All right. So then, of course, higher up, 1 hour north, we can see Waco. Then above Waco will be Dallas, Fort Worth Metro. So this corridor of growth in Texas is going to be growing for decades to come. So let's come back on track on this property here. This property is located very close to the front gate of Fort Hood, and is a via foreclosure, just came into the market maybe about a couple of weeks ago. We expect multiple offer, 3, 4, 5, 6 people they're probably competing against anybody else. 3-bedroom, 2-bath, 1,655 square foot, right? And is so at below market value. That's the beauty, the value of buying via foreclosures. And the rent estimate is $1,300. I have to say, the tenant would be, there's a 75% chance that your tenant over time will be active duty soldiers that have the adequate tax-free housing allowance allocated to their paycheck to pay your rent. So there's pretty much a guaranteed rent. All right, so let's go scroll down to see what else, which is important to learn. Again, this is a very new property built in 2014. And And let me see, the seller's market, we expect appreciation based on Zillow. They predict this neighborhood to increase by 6.3%. Who knows, right? I do not have a crystal ball, so I do not know. I mean, below average market, I mean, a school district, which is almost irrelevant to investors, I think. So let's look at this property. This is a very nicely built property. There are 24 pictures, and let me quickly go through them. It's a very nice home built by a major builder. I do not know exactly who are the major builder, but this looks like a typical Texas home. So very nice built. I mean, look at how nice, how clean it is. And here's the kitchen, large open floor plan. Everything seems to be fairly contemporary and modern, and very spacious. Obviously, the living room facing the kitchen. Everything seems to be in order, very clean, very nice looking. Nothing ordinary. Even the rug looks pretty good. One of the bathrooms right here. So pretty standard. Very good looking construction. Well designed, well built. Just have everything what you ask for in a cookie cutter home, right? So I expect any kind of rehab cost that may come out of pocket for the buyer should be minimal. I don't know, could be a couple of thousand depending on how much you want to touch up on before make this house rent ready for tenants. But everything seems to be in order. Okay, we will, once your offer gets accepted, then we can get some kind of estimate from my contract team to see what's the estimated cost of touching up the property to make it rent ready. Okay, so let me see what else we can do. Say again, this is a Killeen area, is a many active duty soldiers renting, right? They so which is good, right? You want good tenants, you want long-term tenants. So and that's what you're gonna get. So Killeen, Fort Hood, U.S. Army area, in this part of the country, you would expect a good long-term buy and hold property, with giving you some long-term cash flow and even potential for appreciation, giving the strategic location in a path of growth in Texas for this location. So in the rental meter, as I mentioned every time on, this is how I do my research. Not all foreclosures, via foreclosures are alike, and I just simply pick the best one for my investors, like I always do. So that one thing that really meet my expectation whenever I recommend a particular property for investors, I look at this website. The search radius is a mere 2 miles search radius, 3 bedrooms, right? Within this property, and we found 49 properties of similar square footage and similar bedrooms are being rented. And so this is a very good sign. There's a lot of rental activity on a consistent basis on this neighborhood. So buying the property here is what I consider is a very low risk for investors, and we would expect the property management, our turnkey team, to rent this property out every 2 to 3 years, because an active duty soldier, typically a single soldier who's not married, usually have a 2-year tour, like I did when I was in active duty. And a married soldier with families tagging along, they stay typically for a minimum of 3 years contract. So these are all your renters, right? They have extra housing allowance to pay you above and beyond the base pay. So it bodes well for investors. Pretty much a passive turnkey kind of situation. Okay, and finally, let's look over we all want to know, why I'm recommending this. Clearly, because of positive cash flow situation. good return. That's the key, right? Good area, good quality property, good neighborhood, good rental market, many renters, mostly active duty soldiers in a neighboring hood, and built built only a few years ago. So this property is relatively new. So 1,671 square foot, listed for 139,950. If you were to bid for this property, I highly encourage you to bid above this price. How much? I do not know. It's very subjective, but something we can talk about it. Maybe a couple $1,000s above the list price, so you could, so we can provide highest and best offer to the Department of Veteran Affairs, who are evaluating all the submission of offers at any given time. So this property should be within a week or less. This property will no longer available. Somebody can buy this because this via foreclosures in good areas are sells very quickly because of the huge demand and lack of supply of homes, and typical scenario. So 5% down from the purchase price is a little bit less than $7,000 total, plus your closing costs maybe 3,000, and the estimated rehab cost, which as a investor, as a buyer, you will have to bear the burden of this rehab cost, but may not even be $3,000. I just everything's on this cash flow sheet is is estimation. Okay, so the total initial out of pocket for you is a little bit less than $14,000, which is amazing, right? And the rental comp indicates, upon my further research, in this particular property should be around 1,300. Okay, and 5% vacancy rate minus the monthly taxes. The property taxes are pretty reasonable, a little bit higher than 1%, right? Maybe 1.5%, which is not so not as high the property taxes as in other locations in Texas. We all know that. Okay, insurance low, $38, 10% property management fee of the rent, which is $124 per month, and then the 5% maintenance factor. This is sort of a my projection. And then at the end of the day, the financial indicators are key to make an informed decision for investors, and the rent to value ratio is one such figure, which is slightly below 1% rule, which is very acceptable. And capitalization rate almost 7%, very good too. Cash on cash return 13% on a financing return, so very good. Highly leveraged property with positive cash flow with very low down payment. The leverage is the key to real estate financial freedom, as I indicated quite often throughout the years. And total return is 49%. How did we calculate that? Is we look at the annual net cash flow, in this case 1759, plus the principal reduction at the end of the first year. Principal reduction is a intrinsic value financial benefit as well. So this formula software calculated to be 2241, and then I believe I projected like 2% appreciation, which is quite conservative and realistic. So 2% of the purchase price at the end of the first year. The first year appreciation on paper is almost 2,800. So you add on the projected appreciation of 2,800 at the end of the first year, plus principal reduction, plus the net annual cash flow was almost 1,800. Total is 6,800, which means the gross equity income. So this is the paper gain that you achieve because you're not selling the property at any time soon. So your net gain is 6,800. Your total down payment, including everything, right, including closing cost of 5% down, and the rehab cost of 14,000. So 14,000 divided by 6,800, right, equals 49% return on your investment with addition to the tax savings. Okay, hopefully I'm not sounding too complicated. I'm trying to conceptualize and explain to you from a high level what this numerical metrics mean, right? So at the end of the day, it exceeds my numerical expectation
for anybody to buy a real estate investment property. Doesn't matter what market, right? These numbers are critical, as I explained here. So having said that, so to recap, this is a good market, is a lower price market, but the numbers make sense. The rent is or in alignment with the expectation for investors to make this a good return situation with the good cash flow and very good cookie cutter, and it's a turnkey situation. Once you put everything get going, after you finish up the processing of the purchase, the property management and the local team will help you manage your property from a remote location here in Texas. So as an investor, you could have the ability to continue to increase your portfolio with very low down payment with positive cash flow. That's the low risk approach. Very good long-term growth potential opportunity. Okay, so that's all I have to say in this situation. Thank you for listening, and we will look forward to hearing from any one of you who are interested in pursuing to use this particular unique system. Thank you so much. This is Seewing Yee from the Yee Real Estate Network. Have a nice day. Goodbye.